Hello everybody, today is 25th of March and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Friends, today's day that is 25th March marks 1 year anniversary of our newspaper analysis as this was the first day on which I posted the video as the lockdown was imposed and I want to utilize the time constructively. Now this particular initiative started as an experiment to see that how far we can go. And here we are 1 year down the line and the credit goes entirely to you who have always been there into this journey, and I want to extend a heartful thanks to all of you. Now, guys, as a considerable time has been passed into this journey, there are some insights that I would like to share with you. See, the journey started and it was not always very good, it was not always very easy going. The days were very hard, the days were very tiring. In the lockdown, I also felt that Netflix and chill is a mantra of the life, but that thing doesn't takes you anywhere. The Greek philosopher Socrates once said, an unexamined life is not worth living. And he also said that I would like to die as a dissatisfied thinker rather than a satisfied pig. So, my dear friends, always believe that the more hard it gets, the more rewarding it will be into the end. And the reward never means a monetary reward. A reward is something which gives you a fulfillment into the life. And guys, when I mean that a reward is not a monetary reward, I mean that thing. Now, here you can see my entire lifetime revenue that I had earned from the YouTube for this particular channel. The revenue stands to be just $83 till today. Now, when we convert it into the rupee, it just comes to the 6,079 rupees, which is way, way less than what I am getting paid for just a one class that I am taking. And guys, it involves thousands of hours of hard work into the entire newspaper analysis, mapping, editing, research, and all such kind of things. So, what I mean to say here is that never run for monetary rewards, run for the satisfaction of your soul, which you get when you do the things that you want to do. And the true reward that I have got from here is this, the immense love that you have showered on me, the faith that you have shown in me. And this is much more than any kind of compensation into the world. And guys, I tell you seriously, even one of your like, even one of your comment makes my entire day. Though sometimes I'm not able to comment, and even onto this screen I might not be able to fill all the comments, but each one of you is very important to me. Guys, always keep supporting, always keep loving, and I will always be there for all of you and will always be searching for the best of the best content that can be delivered to you. Thank you very much, and now let's start with the today's newspaper analysis. Now, guys, first of all, taking the GS folder for today. So, into the GS folder, today we will be taking a terminology that is coming many a times into the newspaper articles and has even been hailed by the opposition into the Rajya Sabha yesterday. That is the coercive federalism. Now, you might have heard about the cooperative federalism, competitive federalism, which in a way are the positive metaphors. But the coercive federalism simply means the phenomena where asymmetric nature of federalism is being exploited by the union government simply by passing the legislation without taking the concern of the state government into the consideration. And the latest into the point is the passing of the NCT, that is the National Capital Territory of Delhi bill, where the elected government's relevance have been reduced considerably. Even guys, into the pandemic year, there have been other considerable points also. For example, using of the National Disaster Management Act 2005 for issuing the notification rather than the use of the Epidemic Disease Act of 1897, because into the EDA more power has been given to the state government. Then second comes the issue of the GST compensation, where a large chunk was basically withheld because it was said that it is an act of God. Though the money has been released, but it is a kind of an obligation in a form of a loan rather than a GST compensation. After that, there is abuse of entry 33, under which the agricultural reforms have been passed. Though always it is said that agriculture is a topic or a subject of the state government, but by using the entry 33, the law onto the agriculture has been made, on which there is huge agitation which is going on. Then, guys, there was the issue that the division vote into the Rajya Sabha was not allowed for the agricultural reform bills. Now, under the rule number 252 to rule number 254, under the rules of procedure Rajya Sabha, it has been clearly provided that if any one person is having a problem of the into the voting via the show of hands, he can call for a division and the votes are to be registered, but it was not allowed. And guys, it undermines the Rajya Sabha, because in Rajya Sabha we see the representation of the state is there, and now is the passing of the NCT bill. Now guys, I am nowhere intending to criticize the government, but here I want to give you a kind of an examples that today you need to utilize if a question onto the irritants into the federalism are coming. Don't utilize that old matter fodder that we are having into the traditional books. Utilize these examples. So that is all about the GS fodder, and now let's take the newspaper articles. Now, taking up the first article, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that the sitting Chief Justice of India, S.A. Bobde, had announced his successor that will be becoming the CJI. So, guys, now first of all, when we talk about the judiciary into India, there are 34 judges into the Supreme Court, and these 34 judges have been elevated after the Supreme Court Amendment Act 2019 was passed. Before that, there were to be the 31 judges, which included the Chief Justice of India also. Now, guys, when we talk about the CGI, it is nominated onto the basis of seniority. The president, after the consultation with the judges of the High Court as well as the Supreme Court, appoints a person who is a CGI, and into this particular direction, the sitting CGI also gives his recommendation. Now, guys, the precedence of the seniority has been broken earlier in 1973 when the Justice A.N. Ray was appointed as the CGI, even when there were three other judges who were senior to A.N. Ray. Then other time the precedence was broken was in 1977 when M.U. Beg was appointed as a CJI. But guys, even then also there was one other senior judge also into the Supreme Court. But this particular thing was settled in 1993 into the second judge's case, where it was provided that the norm of seniority is always to be kept in mind, and only the senior most sitting judge into the Supreme Court can be appointed by the President of India. Now, guys, the 48th CGI will be the Justice N.V. Raman, and his name has been recommended by the present CGI also. Now, just a couple of days back, we have seen one article also where we have seen that now there is a pending issue of the abuse of authority by the N.V. Raman, and this issue or this case was filed by the Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, who is the Chief Minister of the Andhra Pradesh. And the charges are very much serious, even though that is also reality that the chief minister himself is facing many charges of corruption as well as criminal charges. But this particular thing can also not be ignored, that he is sitting into a constitutional office, and a serious charge on by one constitutional office onto the other constitutional office is a very disturbing thing. Now, guys, into this particular capacity, there is one more development had happened. That is, the CGI has declared that the complaint that was raised against the Justice N.V. Raman has been dismissed because there was no substance into the complaint that was made by the chief minister. But guys, I have told you earlier that this entire phenomena happens into a kind of an in-house committee, and the finding of that particular committee is neither available to the public nor the recordings are kept onto the record. And this particular thing raises a kind of an opacity that is there into the judicial process, and it many a time strikes the confidence of general public into the highest constitutional office of a country. So therefore, guys, there is a need that a reform into such kind of line is needed. So that could be fodder for your thought. Now, guys, you don't need to go into the charges that were made, etc., because that is not needed for an examination. But into the judicial reforms, this particular matter can be raised without using the personal name of a person. So, guys, that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, taking up the second article, this article has been taken from the Indian Express newspaper, and here we can see that the Lok Sabha has cleared the health care professional bill. Now, this topic will be important for your GS paper number 2, social justice under the health reforms. Now, guys, the entire name of the bill is the National Commission for Allied and Healthcare Profession Bill 2020, and primarily it is actually aiming to regularize the profession working condition of the allied healthcare professionals. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the allied healthcare professionals, they have played a very important role into the pandemic. Now, the allied healthcare professionals have been defined as associate technician or any technologist who has been trained to support the diagnosis or the treatment of any illness, disease, injury, or any impairment. Now, it has been provided that these allied healthcare professionals have to obtain a kind of a degree or a diploma which needs to be at least of 2000 of hours and should span to at least 2 to 4 years. Then guys, the formal definition for the healthcare professionals have also been given. Now they include a scientist, a therapist, or any other professional who studies, advises, researches, supervises, or provides preventive, curative, rehabilitative, therapeutic, or promotional health service. So all the doctors will be coming here, and they also need to obtain a degree with at least 3600 hours, and the duration could be 3 to 6 years. So a formal definition has been given. After that, guys, there is also a kind of a provision, the important one, that there will be a national commission for allied and healthcare professions. Now, this particular commission will consist a chairperson, a vice chairperson. There will be the five members, and these five members need to be at the level of a joint secretary position, and they will represent various departments as well as ministries of the central government. After that, there will be the one of representatives from the Directorate General of Health Services. Three deputy directors will be there, or the medical superintendents could be there. After that, there will be the 12 part-time members, which will represent the state councils. Now, this National Commission for Allied and Health Profession will be playing an important role. It will frame the policies and standards for regulating the education as well as a practice for the healthcare professionals as well as for the allied professionals. Mainly, guys, it will be for the allied healthcare professionals, because you might be knowing that earlier also there was the National Medical Commission which was established, which designates or devises the policies for the mainstream health professionals, that is the doctors. Then there is one more good provision, that is creating and maintaining an online central register of all registered professionals, so that we can know that the quacks are not practicing the medicine. Then there will be the basic standards of education, course, curriculum, staff qualification, examination, training, which will be established. Then there will also be a provision to fix the maximum fee that will be payable for the various categories for these courses. Then there will also be a uniform entrance and exit examination. After that, guys, there will be a provision that the state councils are also to be established onto the lines of the central council. Now, guys, actually, you don't need to go too much into the composition, because the composition is very much big, and the state council will will enforce the professional conduct and the code of ethics that are to be observed by the allied healthcare professionals. Moreover, guys, they will maintain a kind of a state register for the people into the allied health workforce which are working. Moreover, it will also inspect allied and health institutions and will ensure the uniform entry and exit examination. After that, guys, there is also the provision for the offenses and penalties, so that a person without the qualifications is not practicing the medicine. Now, guys, it has been called that this particular legislation is a breakthrough in regularizing the work condition for the allied healthcare work professionals, and it will also recognize the role into the health that is being played by the technicians, dietitians, etc. Moreover, guys, into the Lok Sabha, it has also been told by the Minister of Health and Family Welfare that in India, doctor to people ratio is one doctor for every 854 patients, which is a kind of a good thing as per the government. You can utilize this particular data into your answers also. So, guys, that is all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. Please do utilize it if a question comes. And now we'll move to the next article. Now, guys, here we can see that the Earth Hour is being celebrated on 27th of March from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Now, already a question has been asked onto the UPSC onto this line. Now, guys, Earth Hour is an initiative which is taken by the World Wide Fund for Nature, which is an NGO. And here, the people switch off their non essential lights as well as appliances for a duration of 1 hour towards the end of the March. Now, this particular initiative aims to raise the awareness into the people that how the environment is being depleted and they need to consume the less electricity so that the carbon footprint can be reduced. Now, when we talk about the World Wide Fund for Nature, it is an international NGO and one of the largest one in working for the conservation, and it also releases the Living Planet report as well as the Debt for Nature swap. Now, under this particular initiative, a part of a foreign debt for a developing country is waived off. It is compensated if that particular money is being spent into the renewable energy for the conservation measures. And guys, please keep it in mind, because in UPSC prelims, there are the questions which are also being asked onto the reports and indices. So that is all about this particular thing. And now we'll move to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Indian Express and it talks about the Bangladesh model of development, which has become very much popular since 2019. And there are certain lessons which we can learn from Bangladesh and could be implemented in India. Guys, this article will be important for your GS paper number 3 into the economic reforms. Now, it has been provided that this particular year is an year for triple celebration into the Bangladesh. First of all, let's see what triple celebration. First of all, guys, it is the birth centenary of the father of the nation of Bangladesh, that is Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Even we have taken an article that between India and Bangladesh, a film is also being made, which can be seen a constructive role played by the cinema. Then we can see that it is also the 50th year of anniversary of Bangladesh's independence from the Pakistan, and then it also celebrates the 50 years of diplomatic relation between the Bangladesh and India. So, guys, some question onto the Bangladesh is expected. Now, see, in 2019, the GDP growth of Bangladesh has been excellent. It was 8.4%, which was nearly double than the India's growth rate. And in 2020, it is one among the handful of the countries which have maintained their positive growth. Because, guys, you know that in India there have been huge contraction. Moreover, guys, if we see the ongoing development into the Bangladesh right now, the Bangladesh's GDP per capita income is just under 2000 and $2,000, which is same as the level of India. Moreover, within 5 years, by 2026, it is expected that Bangladesh will drop its least developed country tag and will become the developing country and will come on par with the India. So it is a kind of a big development for the Bangladesh. Now, guys, Bangladesh has majorly been inspired from the Vietnamese model of development, which took the reforms known as the Doi Moi reforms in 1986. Now, guys, when we talk about the Vietnam focused on to the economic growth and majorly onto the industrialization, and they had exploited some of the key component. They focused majorly onto the textile and garment sector, and now the Vietnam is a prominent player. It has become so prominent that when the decoupling from China is happening, countries talk about the China plus one, and into the China plus one, this one is the Vietnam, where country will be relocating if they ever exited from the China. And then the Vietnam has also signed multilateral and bilateral agreements with many of the countries, such as with the Japan, Thailand. It has joined the ASEAN, as well as it has joined the free trade agreement even with the USA, India, and Thailand. And now we can see clearly the Bangladesh is following the Vietnamese model and had directly invested into the textile and the garment industry, which accounts 80% of the export of Bangladesh. And guys, even the Bangladesh is enjoying the preferential treatment from the Europe, Canada, Australia, Japan, and pays negligible to the zero tax, which had given a kind of an upper hand to the Bangladeshi textile exports. Moreover, guys, into the Bangladesh, the FDI policy has also been very much liberalized. We can see that Bangladesh allows 100% equity into the local companies to the foreign players, as well as there is no limit onto the repatriation of profits to the their home countries. And this thing has actually improved the ease of doing business into the Bangladesh. Moreover, guys, into the Bangladesh, we have seen that the microfinance is also very much robust. Even you might be knowing, many times I have said that the Muhammad Yunus was the one person who was the proponent of the microfinance. He was a Bangladeshi social entrepreneur, and he came out with the ideas of Grameen Bank, which are now providing the microfinance to the people. And now, guys, as the textile and microfinance are both directed towards the women's labor force participation rate into the Bangladesh has also increased. Now, into the textile sector, 95% of the employees are the women. So these women are responsible for 80% of the Bangladesh's export. We can see that how much big importance to the women is being given, and majorly this particular thing also flows from a fact that even their leader or their prime minister Sheikh Hasina herself is a woman. After that, guys, the government of Bangladesh also came out with one very good scheme, that is the Pushti Apas, the nutrition sisters, which aims to improve the women health, had invested into the community health clinics, as well as by this particular thing, Bangladesh's many of the health indicators such as the infant mortality, sanitation, hunger, gender equality has been improved. So, guys, all these particular lessons can be learned from the Bangladesh, that how India can also focus specifically onto some of the niche sectors such as the textile, shoe manufacturing, etc. And even this particular thing was suggested into the economic survey, where it was said that now India must focus from shoes to jeans, because these low manufacturing sectors have a potential that they can give the employment to large and large numbers. Now, guys, here we can see that on March 26, the visit will be made by the Indian Prime Minister into the Bangladesh, where he will be pushing forward with the bilateral connectivity projects which have been delayed. And this could also be a time that economic practices of Bangladesh, that is making micro lending accessible, establishing the special economic zone, etc., needs to be taken up. So, guys, that is all about this particular article. Please do utilize the references into your economy related questions. So, that is all. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that India has abstained on voting onto the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution onto the Sri Lanka, where the Sri Lanka's abuse of human right was questioned. Now, by abstaining, India had made a tactical move because by abstention, India had shown number A that they are not completely adversary to their neighbor. They will support the neighbor into the tough times, and at the same time, the abstention also shows that India wants that the Sri Lanka should do more for the Tamilians into the Sri Lanka. The 13th Constitutional Amendment Act, which talks about the devolution of powers to the Tamilians for the representation of Tamilians into the elections, should be passed as early as possible. Now, guys, the abstention is a strategic tool that has been taken by India. Moreover, by the abstention, India has also given one more warning to the Sri Lanka that the abuse of human rights, which is even going now, as well as the anti-democratic practices that is being taken by the Sri Lanka, should be reduced. It has been seen that now, guys, again a kind of a democratic deficit is coming into the Sri Lanka because there is a crackdown onto the NGOs. The accountability has been reduced, and guys, a kind of a discriminatory treatment is being done by the people onto the basis of their ethnicities. So it is a kind of a early warning also. Now, guys, apart from this, much of the substance has not been there into this article. Even we have taken up this entire issue into that yesterday's newspaper analysis that is on to the 24th of March. If you have not seen it, that you can refer to that also. So, guys, that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that a report has been presented by the parliamentary panel that is being headed by the Pratap Singh Bajwa, or you can also call it as Pratap Singh Bajwa report. Here it has been provided that, guys, the e-commerce giants such as the Flipkart, Amazon, etc., their cloud is increasing very much, and into the times to come, they can abuse the market. So, therefore, there is a need to define the unfair trade practices for the e-commerce. Now let's understand this particular topic into a more simple terms. See, today you know that there are deep pocket discounts that are being given, for example, by the Amazon as well as Flipkart. Now their actual motto is to wipe out the competition from the market, that is to wipe out the brick and mortar based models, because guys, if you will be getting the huge discounts from here, you will not buy from the local shops. Into the meantime, when they will be wiped, they will actually be ruling the monopoly into the market and will dictate whatever price they want. So therefore, the unfair trade practices are to be defined very clearly, so that when such kind of predatory pricing is being taken by these e-commerce, they can be kept into the check. Moreover, it has also been provided that there is also an urgent need that a kind of a cap is to be fixed onto the delivery charges that are being levied by the commerce firms, as well as there also needs to be a provision for the penal provisions for the violation of rules with related to the misinformation of a product that is being shown onto their website. Because many a times it has been seen that due to the misinformation, the consumers are suffered and their consumer rights are violated, which are given to the consumers since 1986. So therefore, guys, in order to preserve the consumer rights, all such kind of things are very much needed. So that is all, and now we need to see that what a decision will be taken ultimately by the government. So guys, that is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and you can utilize it as a reference point into the electoral funding and will be important for your GS paper number 2. Here we can see that the Supreme Court has flagged the concerns with respect to the misuse of the money raised via the electoral bond. Now, guys, a couple of days back also the electoral bonds were into the news, and we have taken it into the newspaper article also that there is a problem with respect to the source of the money that is coming via electoral bond. Now, the Supreme Court has asked that there is what guarantee that the money that will be raised by electoral bonds will be used into the legitimate way only. There could be a possibility that the political parties might misuse the crores of rupees which they are receiving through the electoral bonds to fund the violent protest, as well as they can even use that to fund the terrorism. So there is an urgent need that a mechanism of checks and balances is needed to be installed so that it can be made very much sure that the money is not being used for and activities which are outside the political agenda. So guys, this is all which has been raised here, and we can also utilize it as an example. So guys, that is all about the today's newspaper analysis. Friends, I believe that you are liking the initiative. Thank you so much.